Okay, hi everyone, good morning. Hopefully you can hear me okay at the back. So hopefully you've had a coffee and a pastry and you're fueled up, ready to go again. So my name's Ryan and I'm the CTO at CyberLab. And I'm here to show you this morning 4 pre-recorded sessions relating to phishing simulation attacks using readily available free tools that are easy to come by on the internet, easy to use, and show you just how effective these tools can be and the amount of harm that they can cause. Sorry, I'm clicking in 2 places, so I'm already out of sync. That's not good. So just as a quick show of hands, can you just raise hands if you've heard of CyberLab, if you are aware of us? Okay, that's great. So CyberLab has existed as a separate legal entity to CHESS. We're a sister company to CHESS, spun out and 18 months ago. So CyberLab are the consolidation of 3 cyber businesses, CyberLab and 2 other acquisitions who CHESS had acquired over previous years, one called Forces, and Armadillo, a pen testing company, and it's actually one of the pen testers at Armadillo who's pre-recorded these 4 sessions for me today. Within the business, I'm responsible for leading the infrastructure team, 2 of the customer-facing engineering teams, and our cybersecurity as a service portal and the roadmap of that, which is where all the grey hair came from. So just a slide in terms of the state of the cybersecurity landscape. 2 stats here, which I don't think will be massively surprising to anybody, but the key findings are ransomware isn't retracting, isn't heading away, and largely why would it? The cyber criminals are making more year on year cumulatively. Why would they stop? And larger businesses are falling victim to ransomware. The larger organizations are being targeted. How I sort of interpret that is it's the larger businesses which have a more complex environment. There's larger footprint on the internet, so more potential access points into that organization's environment. A colleague shared with me a website within the last week called ransomware.live, which is quite a cool site and shows you the number of ransomware attacks within the last month, within the last year, the ransomware groups which are conducting those attacks, the amount of ransomware that's being requested. I'm not quite sure how they do it, but it also shows you like a chat log between the victim and the attacker in terms of how they negotiate, how the victim is asking for a lesser ransom amount and the attackers in some cases is agreeing and is reducing the payment amount. In other cases is sort of holding firm, but how they tighten the screw and keep reminding the victim that we have your data, we're going to expose it and leak it on the internet if we don't receive our payment within the next 24 hours. Absolutely frightening stuff. So just before we jump into the 4 attack simulations, the last week or 2 I've been watching a cyber crime thriller on iPlayer, which is based on a sleeper train, and it's about a train that gets hijacked. So I've been watching that the last couple of weeks. I think it's a 6-parter. I was watching on episode 4 a few nights ago. And the head of GCHQ, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it and is planning on doing, but the head of GCHQ, they suspected she may be concealing some information. So her second in command walked into her office and she created a phishing simulation in less than a minute, sent it to the head of GCHQ. She clicked on the link, she was phished, and straight away her second in command had access to a mailbox and she could see in real time what was going on. So I was sat there on the sofa thinking and saying to my wife, "Oh, this is bloody ridiculous. This is just really far-fetched." But she was saying, "Just watch the program." And the speed of which she conducted that attack was far-fetched and fictitious. But actually, what the attacker was able to do after the compromise had taken place, as you'll see in the next 4 simulations, was perfectly valid and is happening all day, every day. I think just on the previous slide, I think I read a stat, there's 580 ransomware attacks every minute, or 37,700 every hour. So it isn't going away, it's getting worse, so the question is, what can we do about it? Okay, hopefully you can see that screen. So this is the first phishing example. So this is using a tool online called GoFish. This is the first one. So our victim here is Jack. And Jack is the perfect sort of victim. He has a mailbox in 365, is not using MFA, and is fairly flippant about the security controls and what he should be doing to protect his account within the organization. And the pen testers within CyberLab, they quite often, how they start an engagement, they perform some initial reconnaissance, and they end up with a list of email addresses, and they will use some of these tools, one of which is called CredMaster, to start to validate if these email addresses are valid and where to focus their attack in terms of understanding which email addresses actually exist within that organization. So I think the video is going to start now, so I'll try and provide some quick running commentary. So this is on the attacker side in GoFish. So we are creating an email template. So this is what the email is going to look like, the victim is going to receive. Our pen tester, Alex, has then configured a landing page. So he's just going to show us now what the landing page looks like that the victim will be redirected to from within the email. And we're also setting a redirect URL as well there. So after the attack, what page the user will be redirected to. That's the landing page. Oh, sorry, I'm going to click back and start it again. I'm not sure. No, okay. So now we're creating a campaign. We're linking the email to the landing page. We're specifying a URL for the landing page. And we're adding our victim, Jack, into the group to send this email to. So the GoFish tool will then launch that campaign, send the email out to our victim, Jack. The campaign's running. And we can see the campaign's executed and one email has been sent. So now to flick over onto the victim side. So this is Jack's device. Jack's received the email. He clicks on the link. It looks like a Microsoft landing page, and he thinks, okay, I'll sign in. He logs in with his email address and password. He has not got MFA enabled. And he's redirected to his 365 account. And he thinks, okay, that's fine. There isn't anything suspicious here. He's signed into his account. So now to flick back onto the attacker side, in GoFish again, we can scroll down and we can see that one user has submitted their data as part of that phishing campaign. And scrolling further down, we can see the password on Jack's account. Okay, so that was the easy one. So phishing example 2, our victim here is Cindy. And just in case you're thinking, oh, well, we have MFA, so our organization is fine. Cindy actually has MFA enabled. Cindy's a slightly more cautious individual, and she's aware that MFA is very important, and her password on its own is an insufficient way of protecting her account. So what we're using here is a technique called reverse proxy phishing, and the tool that's being used to conduct this attack is called Evil Jinx. So the benefits of an attack like this are that we're sending a real email, and we're redirecting the victim to a real landing page. The limitations of an attack like this are that the landing page may be filtered depending on what sort of internet filtering solution the organization has in place. So just to start this campaign now, So we can see that Cindy has received the same email. So Cindy, again, has clicked on the link. She's taken to the same landing page. And she thinks, yep, that's Microsoft. I'll sign in. She receives an MFA challenge. We know Cindy has MFA on her account. So she reaches for her smartphone and she authenticates with MFA. We know it's going to redirect her to Microsoft, which it is doing now. And she thinks, okay, that's fine. There's nothing suspicious here at all. So now we flip back onto the attacker side, and Evil Jinx was listening to this traffic and using this reverse proxy has intercepted the traffic and has captured her session token. We've copied the session token from Evil Jinx, injected it into our browser, refreshed the page within our browser. This is obviously on the attacker side. And we should now see that we're now signed in as Cindy. Just in the right-hand corner at the top there. Okay, so that's simulation number 2. So moving on to simulation number 3. Our victim here is Aaron. And Aaron's just about as savvy as they come. Aaron follows the rules strictly. He checks links within emails he receives and where he inputs his credentials as well, and he too has MFA enabled. So in this next example, we're launching a device code authentication phishing attack, and this is using a tool called Squarefish. In this example, Aaron is going to receive a QR code, which we are going to intercept the traffic from, and we're going to capture Aaron's session token in the same way as we did with Cindy. So our pen tester, Alex here, is launching Squarefish on his device. And he is then sending an email to Aaron, which has been sent. So on the victim side, we can see here that Aaron has received an email which contains a QR code. Aaron scans the QR code, and we can see on the left-hand side here that Squarefish is capturing all this traffic. It's intercepting all these responses. Aaron enters the code from his Authenticator app. Again, Squarefish is logging this activity on the left-hand side here. MFA challenge now. And we can see on the attacker's device, we've captured the session token. So in exactly the same way, we can copy that session token. We can inject that into our browser. Sorry, we aren't injecting it into the browser, but we just are confirming that we've captured the session token, and in exactly the same way as on Cindy's device, we could copy and inject that into the browser in exactly the same way. So that's phishing simulation 3. So on to phishing simulation 4. So our victim here is Joey. This is a slightly more complicated one, but this is using an attack called illicit consent grant. So I'll just launch this video. So we are limited here by we're creating an app within Azure, and we're giving that app roles and rights to access a user's account once the user has given it the ability to do that. So we're somewhat limited here by what that app is able to do. And this simulation attack is using a tool called 365 Stealer. So what we can see here, Alex has set up an app within Azure. The app has a valid certificate. We're configuring a redirect URL, so we want the victim to be redirected into 365 in the same way so that it suspect anything suspicious has taken place. And we're now giving our app API permissions. So once our victim has accepted the app, then the API is able to read and access Mail and OneDrive within our victim Joey's account. So what we can see here is we are signed into 365 as Joey. I think I need to talk quite quickly here, but Joey's received an email. So this is showing us Joey's inbox, and he has a confidential email sat in his inbox. So what Alex is now doing is he's launching 365 Stealer on his device. And he's going to create a hyperlink. We haven't actually launched this as a phishing attack, so we could send it as a phishing email, send it as a WhatsApp, send it as a text message. But for the purposes of this example, we have a hyperlink, and somehow Joey would click on the hyperlink from his device. So Joey has clicked on the link. It's taking him into a browser tab, and the Trading Analytics app within Azure is requesting permissions to his account. Joey clicks accept. He's redirected to 365. Again, he doesn't think anything suspicious has taken place at this point. But we can see within 365 Stealer that we have intercepted the traffic. We're able to access Joey's 365 account. And essentially we're starting to clone all of the data within his account. 365 Stealer has quite a nice user interface. So within 365 Stealer, we can see that the page is starting to populate, and we have a OneDrive folder, an Outlook folder. Within Outlook and a HTML page, we can see here the email that we saw within Joey's email inbox. And then heading back to 365 Stealer, we can look in the OneDrive folder as well. And we can see that the OneDrive folder is starting to populate with just a clone of what's inside our victim's account. And as luck would have it, there is a Word file in there which contains the company's account details. And there is also a passwords spreadsheet as well, which contains his usernames and his passwords, as luck would have it. And then the last thing to mention within 365 Stealer, we can also see that there is a file called access token. So that is just confirming that we were able to capture the access token from the victim in the same way as we did with Cindy and Aaron as well. Okay, so that's the 4 simulations that I wanted to run through. I hope you found those interesting and has provided some evidence that phishing isn't going away, and some of these tools that exist and are so easy to use can cause havoc and are being used all day, every day. I think, to follow on from some of the other speakers who mentioned AI, I completely agree. I think we're sort of in the foothills phase of AI, and we've been exploring how AI can and can't be used for good or for bad. I'm sort of excited and terrified about AI in equal measures, But I think we're just on the verge of this sort of explosion, this exponential use in AI. And I think some of these tools that I've just shown you here are going to get more sophisticated, and the attackers will be able to launch their attacks even faster. Their attacks will become more intelligent, and we need to keep on our toes, and we need to do everything we can to protect our environment. So I think some of the tips and the takeaways that are on this page here are things that I suppose are not relatively new, but things like you need to perform some sort of check to ensure that the email is from who you think it's from. So use some other communication means, Teams, Slack, a phone call, to confirm that that email was from them. Look for anything, any typos in the email, anything within the language of the email which looks a bit unusual. Are you receiving an email from somebody you wouldn't normally receive an email from? Strange looking senders' email addresses, all this same old stuff. But I think with the rise of AI, I think as a human organization, we need to work together and raise that cyber awareness. And I think just the constant training piece, the security awareness training shouldn't be something that happens in induction, where a new starter is handed a PDF or given a PowerPoint slide deck and saying, read through this, and that's your training complete. It's a continuous improvement cycle. And the cloud is changing things so fast. New tools are being installed and made use of every week, every month. So the landscape's changing as well. So just making sure that users are kept up to speed in terms of what tools are in existence and what they should be doing from their end to help the business protect its estate. There's something here called phishing-resistant MFA as well. And I think that this is particularly important for those admin accounts within an organization. So those admin accounts are the keys to the kingdom in terms of access to the environment. And I think one example of phishing-resistant MFA is some sort of hardware token. So rather than relying on a smartphone app, which as we've seen, that MFA challenge can be intercepted, a response from a hardware token is much harder to compromise. So that's one example for phishing-resistant MFA. At CyberLab, as part of our CSAS platform, we're about to launch a new product called Recon Scan. And this has come about from speaking to our pen testers and looking at the tools that they are using as part of their engagements, which are identifying, they enter a customer's domain and it will head away and it will find all the subdomains, all the websites, all the web apps, all the IP addresses, all the open ports. It will conduct a vulnerability scan against everything it is able to identify and show the pen testers all the data they need in terms of where are the weak entry points into that customer's estate. Is there an IP address with a vulnerable open port? Is that where they need to focus their engagement? So we thought, well, why can't we make this available to our customers? So we're including this in our cloud portal. And for anybody who would like a free Recon scan, I'm not sure it's quite ready today, but within the next few days, we're hoping to have that product launched and we could allow access to run some Recon scans on our portal. So I think that's pretty much it from me. I don't know how we're doing for time, Jay, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions now, or feel free to grab me over lunch as well.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it from me. Oh, sorry, there's a question.
In those scenarios, those phishing scenarios,
was there anything actually installed on the user's machine that antivirus would have picked up?
Apologies if that wasn't clear. The short answer is no. So all of those 4 tools that I mentioned, the GoFish, the Squarefish, Evil Jinx, and 365 Stealer, they're all tools that are installed on the attacker's device. So he spun up those tools, he entered the victim's email address. The 4 victims received that email, clicked on those links or scanned those QR codes, which obviously completed that attack. But there wasn't anything installed on the victim's machines. So there wasn't anything the organization's suite of tools would have suspected. That answers his question.
yeah, but
Yeah, sure.
When you did gain access to the email addresses, was you then able to send emails being that person or not?
Send emails as that person. Good question. Well, yes, because obviously we had captured their session token, the password, we were in their account, so we had the same account access as the victim. So as soon as we had captured the session token, then we have access to read and send email as well. Yeah. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you for listening. I'll hand over to Grace.